So of course you've answered the question. You have had a great relationship with St. Andrew High School, obviously.
Well, I got my wife out of the school.
Well, that is a good thing. Good thing. All right. So, while you're at JC, did you get involved in any extracurricular activities, any sports, drama clubs, anything like that, swimming?
I was one of these people that was very involved in everything. I wasn't any great athlete, but I took part in cricket. I took part every game. Well, in those days, every boy in the school had to play games. There was no question of choice.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was cricket, when it was track season, every boy had to earn points for their house. You had sports day, and you had standards, it was called, and if you could come up to the standard, you could earn a point for your house, and so every boy participated in athletics in one shape or form or another. The closest I went to making a team was I was reserved for the discus. That's as close as I got when I was in sixth form.
Okay.
So the athletics team, and I did play second 11 football, but I didn't play Manning Cup. And cricket I played for my house. As I said, all of us had to play games. We all had to participate, and you had champs of one kind or another, the houses against each other. And every boy in the school had to participate. In swimming, football, cricket, everything that was going on. So I participated. I was a school prefect and so on. Got stripped from being a school prefect because I got caught smoking.
What? I won't ask you what you were smoking and if you inhaled or not.
I most certainly did. And I got stripped from being a school prefect. But I did quite well in my exams, like my senior Cambridge. And the reason I went to boarding school was in the fifth form was to settle down and work hard. And that's what I did. I worked very hard in fifth form and did extremely well in my senior Cambridge exam. In those days, you had grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. And only 5 of us in the school got grade 1, and I was one of them. So,
well, great.
So I went on to do my sixth form, and I did very well there too. So, I was just a kind of average guy who worked hard and participated and participated in everything, but I wasn't any star athlete or star student. I was just a good student.
Well, as long as you progressively blossom and blossom as you get older, then that is better than you reach your peak when you're younger and then you fall off a shape. So you have definitely blossomed as
Actually, I learned a great lesson in fifth form, I think, because I really put an effort into my fifth form, and I really did so well in my exams that it taught me the value of hard work, and it taught me the value it taught me to realize that whatever I wanted in life, if I worked for it, I would get it, And that was a big lesson I know I learned in fifth form, because it has stayed in my memory all my life, that if you work hard and if you work sensible and if you work in a planned way and an orderly way, and if you discipline yourself, you can achieve anything you want to achieve. That was what it put into my memory, into my head.
Well, you have said fifth form, and you're focused on fifth form. Now, that makes me want to know, in your prior years from maybe elementary school to first form, coming up to fifth form, are you alluding to the fact that you're probably not as focused as you were when you got to fifth form?
Typical first and second form, fairly bright boy from prep school, used to come in the top 5 in the class, first and second form. Found out that there were a thing called girls in third and fourth form. Slacked off quite a lot in third and fourth form, dropped down into the middle of the class kind of thing. And therefore decided when when fifth form came, well, I was going to settle down, and that's what I did. And that was why I asked my parents to send me to boarding school, which they did, which was an extraordinary sacrifice for them, because, as I said, they were people of very modest means.
Oh, wow. This is
so that really was the reason why I focused so much on fifth form, because it was the year I really dug my heels in, you know.
Well, Danny, I didn't know your story, but I must say I'm really loving it because it is totally a reflection of what we're trying to promote in our group, you know, because we are just doing, we are teaching by just showing, you know. We're not really preaching or anything. We just want people like you who just live your life. We hear it from the horse's mouth, what you did. And hearing this, any young boy coming into JC or any school around the world right now could hear how you can, you know, what inspired you, what caused you to slack off, what caused you to turn it around, and it could have and apply it to their life. You see what I'm saying? So it is great to hear from somebody like you who could have gone in either direction. You could have fallen off in third form and never come back, you know. And here it is, you are saying that you made a decision to be who you are today, and you know that's a great story. So yes. So we're gonna move away a little bit from the JC thing. I think you know we could cover more, but you know we have more things to talk about, like what you did post JC. I know you left JC. Did you go straight into the working world, or did you?
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. In those days, very few of us had the opportunity of going to university, unless your parents were quite wealthy. There was no university. There was no Jamaican university to go to. I think UTech may have been just about starting. I mean, UWI may have been just about starting their medical faculty, or shortly after that they started the medical faculty. But there was no universities in Jamaica for us to go to, and unless, as I say, your parents were wealthy, you didn't stand a chance. You know, you couldn't afford to go. Most people went to Canada or the States. Canada was very popular in those days, McGill and schools like that. So that was kind of out of the question for me. And to tell you the truth, I was always very entrepreneurial by nature. I mean, even when I was a boy, I had to earn my own pocket money, and I did my own things to earn my pocket money. I used to run a cigarette business in my neighborhood, and that used to put me in pocket money. In fact, it gave me sufficient money that when I was in sixth form at JC, although I was probably one of the poorest boys in the school, I was one of the only boys that could drive car to school, because I had earned that money myself from my cigarette business. I was always very entrepreneurial and very very inclined towards sales of one, marketing and sales of one kind or another. And when I was about 16 or 17, I'd become exposed to the life insurance business through my brother-in-law, who was living with us, and he was in the business, and he brought books home. I started reading it, and I started taking an interest. And even before I left JC, I started helping him by introducing him to boys who were leaving school, you know, the form or two ahead of me, who got their first jobs and were being encouraged to make savings through life insurance in those days. And so I started taking an interest in the business and thought, you know, this would be a good career for me. But that wasn't really the sort of career that Mr. and Mrs. Williams' son, who had just done sixth form at JC, would be expected to become a life insurance salesman, beating the pavement, you know. But be that as it may, that was my interest. So at first, when I left school at first, I went into I had a good friend, Desmond Mayer, whose father had an accounting firm, and took me into the firm for 6 or 8 weeks, and encouraged me to stay on, but I couldn't do accounting. I found it boring. And I had another contact who had said that if I could run anhydrous alcohol plant that existed out Association, and they offered me a job there, and I went there for a few months, and we were processing anhydrous alcohol, ethanol, and that was at the time when the thought was that we would use our sugar cane to make anhydrous alcohol for fuel for Jamaica. But that, whilst I was doing those things, I was still involving myself in the insurance business. And to cut a long story short, that after being out of school 3 or 4 months, I went into the insurance business, and I was only 18 years and 9 months old. I was quite a baby because in those days you couldn't even get a bond, and you needed a bond before 21. But I got around that by getting my father to guarantee my bond. I was able to. It's a longish story, but I got my contract and I went into full-time selling. And from there, I became a supervisor after 3 or so years. I was quite young at the time. And then I became manager of the branch before I was 26. And from there, I went on, and I managed the branch from 26 until I was about 35, and then I formed Life of Jamaica. So I did most things quite young. I got married just a week before I was 20, not for that matter. And so we formed Life of Jamaica, and the rest is history.
Explain a little bit on how you formed Life of Jamaica. With you did it unilaterally or with other people, or how did you?
No, with a lot of other people. I had developed a large branch office. In fact, it was the most successful branch office for North American Life anywhere in the world, right here in Jamaica.
Wow.
So I had a large army of salespeople, 100 salespeople, and a large branch office that had been developed over the 10 years. And, I also had become exposed to the business world because of the success with North American Life. And I'd met a lot of business people. And I saw that Jamaica needed a life insurance industry and a life insurance company. At that time, I had one small little company, wasn't doing anything much. And we had about 17 foreign companies here. So, cut a long story short, there again, I went into the life insurance business decided to form a company, and I used the contacts I had made in the business world and convinced them to join with me. And I got all the bright young people at that time, about 15 or 16 of them, to join with me with this idea of forming a company. I was the largest shareholder in the company, with having dumped everything I had in it, and I didn't even have 5% of the company. Yeah, and it went public. It was we sold the shares on the market, and our capital was raised through a public issue. And it looks like a joke today. It was $2.5 million that we raised to form the company, and my stake in it was $100,000. And as I said, I was the biggest shareholder. Which, if you work that out, is about 4%. So, that was how we formed the company, and that was the beginning of the Jamaicanization of the life insurance business in Jamaica.
Oh my goodness! So is you or LOJ considered the first Jamaican-owned life insurance company?
Yeah, first Jamaican publicly owned life insurance company. Yes.
Amazing.
There was a small Jamaican company, Jamaica Mutual. There was a small, but it was a very small company. It was a mutual company. But we were the first stock company.
First, okay.
And the first company to really do it in a big professional way, you know.
Well, excellent. We expect no less.
That was 1970. So that's a long time ago.
Yes.
That's 42 years ago.
Well, here you are now a giant in the industry, in the insurance industry.
Well, I've retired from the industry generally. I am chairman of, Life of Jamaica became Sagicor Life through various mergers and this, that, and that. And I am chairman of the company at this time. I took over the chairmanship a few years ago, and I'm now 78 years old, so, you know, in a year or two I'll be stepping down from that. You gradually want to step back a little bit as you get older. So I am looking forward to stepping out in a year or two, but I am chairman of the company now.
Okay, great. Well, let me ask you this.